In this lecture, I would like to talk about Britain in 1815. This was after the Battle of Waterloo and the defeat of the French, the end of the Napoleonic Wars. The population of Britain, England and Scotland, was England, Scotland and Wales, was about 13 million, which was a quarter of the present population. And at that time the population was increasing very quickly, and in fact it went on, and by 1871 it had doubled. And there were three reasons for this rapid increase in population. Firstly, more babies lived to grow up and become adults. And secondly, people were living longer. And thirdly, many immigrants were coming into Britain from Ireland. People were generally better fed, better clothed and better housed and more healthy than they had been in the past. However, although people were more healthy than they had been before, by modern standards, conditions were still very bad indeed. Many people still worked on the land, but towns were growing rapidly. By the middle of the 19th century, more people were living in the towns than in the land. For example, between the period of 1800 and 1830, in the 30-year period, many towns doubled in size. Birmingham, Sheffield, Liverpool, Leeds and Manchester all doubled in size during that time. In 1830, Bradford, which is my hometown, Bradford was the fastest growing town in the world. By 1815, London already had a population of over 1 million people. But at this time, most of the people living in the towns had not been born there, but had been born in the country and had later moved to the new towns. The economy was growing very rapidly. At that time, the largest industry was cotton. The cotton mills of Lancashire were importing raw cotton from the United States and making that into cloth and then exporting the cloth all over the world. Also important were coal, iron and engineering industries. The countryside too had changed very much. There were now no large open fields, but many small fields with fences around them, typical of the English countryside of today, in fact. Improved methods of agriculture needed less labour, and more land was now in the hands of rich men. Those poor people in the countryside who had no land were very poor indeed. At that time, laws were very strict, the criminal law. You could be sentenced to death for about 200 different offences, for example, pickpocketing or stealing sheep. The trouble, of course, was that there were no police, so a criminal had very little chance of being caught. Another punishment common at the time was transportation, that is, sending people away to Australia at the time. You could get 7 years transportation for catching a wild rabbit on someone's private land. London, of course, had special crime problems because it had such a large population and it had no police force. This period, around 1815, is often called the Regency. It was a period of outlandish fashions among the upper classes, and writers such as Jane Austen and Sir Walter Scott were writing their famous novels for those people who were educated enough to read. However, most people were probably more interested in horse racing and boxing than in literature. The king was George III. he reigned from 1760 to 1820, but for most of that, or much of that time, he was mentally ill, and he frequently had fits of madness. By 1811, his son had become the permanent regent, ruling in his place. His father was still technically the king, but the son was ruling. And the political system was still the same system that had been founded in 1688, when William and Mary had come to the throne. The Parliament was in dreadful need of reform. The distribution of seats, the areas of the country that could send a member to Parliament, the seats, the distribution was very uneven due to the fact that the population had changed so much because of the agricultural revolution and the industrial revolutions. And many of the large new towns didn't send any representatives to Parliament, whereas many old villages with only a small population might have sent two. In one case, there was an old village still sent two members of Parliament. Two members to Parliament, even though there was no population left in the village. No one for the people to represent. Very few people had the right to vote, and most of those who could vote would sell their vote to the highest price. It was obvious that the Parliament would have to be reformed, and more people had to be given the right to vote. And in 1832, a new law was passed to change all this. And in 1832, the middle class were given the right to vote. This time, in 1815, at this time, internationally, Britain was in a very strong position. France was defeated in the Napoleonic Wars, and Germany consisted of about 30 small states, and none of them very powerful. Italy was not united and was divided into 6 small states, for example. East Europe was still almost entirely agricultural, and Russia was still very backward. This was a chance for Britain to take advantage of her economic development, and the merchants, bankers and manufacturers were all ready. For the next 100 years or so, after 1815, Britain dominated world trade and was by far the most powerful country in the world. Compared to other countries at the time, the British government was actually very liberal. And many people at the time thought that the secret of British success was somehow the combination of liberal democracy with capitalist development. And so many other countries attempted to imitate this. And they were often successful, of course, with economic development, but perhaps less successful in trying to imitate British democracy. So 1815 was a time where we have great success, but also serious social problems. Economic changes had changed British society. At the same time, the American and French revolutions had set in motion new ideas about political freedom. 25 years of war with France had helped very much to speed up the process of industrialization, but at the same time had held back the necessary social and political reforms.